Welcome back, squad. Today we're going to talk about Grin coin and specifically the technological uniqueness of this project. All right. Now, there is also something very sinister I find about the Grin coin image. Grin coin. Oh shit. Now, what exactly is Grin coin? You've probably heard about it from some articles or from some friends about this new project that is going to launch, and it is going to change the whole blockchain tech situation. All right, well, we're going to talk about that and break it down today right now. So meet Grin, the private and lightweight MimbleWimble blockchain. Now, Grin has been known about ever since February 2018, when there was a Let's Talk with Adam, Andreas Antonopoulos, and Michael, aka Yeast Plume. So he is one of the major developers for the Grin project, and they talked about the privacy protocol here on this Let's Talk. I will have the link to this Let's Talk in the description of the video if you guys definitely want to check it out. Now, what makes Grin so unique? Well, Grin has no amounts and no addresses. Transactions can be trivially aggregated. To hide where a newly created transaction comes from, it gets relayed privately among peers before it is publicly announced. Now, this is incredibly unique. Now, what this means is when a transaction is, when a coin is minted on the blockchain, there is an output that is created, and it is tracked in the blockchain forever. That is one of the few pieces of information that this blockchain keeps. It also keeps the latest transaction linked to that output, which means if I were to mine a block of Grin, so I would receive 60 Grin on the blockchain, it would show the creation of those coins and then the latest output linked to that, which would be my address, for instance, which isn't actually an address. It's just a signed transaction. It makes this interesting to explain, but anyways, I would have that 60 Grin. Now, if I sent those to another individual, it would show on the blockchain those coins being created and then the latest output. It wouldn't show that I ever received those coins. It would just show that the coins were created and the latest output is George, for instance. But you'd never know it's George, but you get the idea. It's quite unique. But the point is that any data in between the coins being created and being transferred to other individuals, anything in between is not there. It is not present on the blockchain. The blockchain does not keep that information. And that's what makes this unique, because the size of the Bitcoin blockchain, I think it's right now like 300 gigabytes or something like that. Whereas for Grin, it's basically nothing. It's nothing in comparison to the Bitcoin blockchain. So that is something very key to note, because you don't need this extra hard drive space to run this node. It is not a hassle at all because the file size is so small. So this adds to the decentralization of the project because there are more nodes on the network verifying transactions. So it's kind of interesting in that manner. Now, what makes this so open? Well, Grin is developed openly by developers distributed all over the world. It's not controlled by any company, foundation, or individual. There was no pre-mine. It's free of ICO. There's no founder's reward. You know, it's everything that you would like to see in a project, and it still has all of that productivity, which we're gonna dive into right now. So if you guys want to read up a little bit more on the cut through method, which basically cuts down on all of that data in between the coins being minted and being sent to other individuals, you totally can. I have their GitHub paper here which explains everything, and I will link that in the description of the video. Okay, guys? Now let's jump into CoinMarketCap. So as you can see here, the coins are right now $5.30. And they started off really good, actually. Like, Grin did a wicked job. $15, and then after, the miners started getting involved and selling off their coins, things started to go down and kind of stabilize. But the point is that the price is still high. Like the normalization here is about $5, which is pretty good. And they have a total market cap right now of just shy of $5 million and 1,400 Bitcoin per day. So this is amazing. Like, they're doing really, really well as far as things are concerned, especially in this bear market. Okay, now if we move over to Hotbit, which is one of their main exchanges, they have a massive amount of support here for their coins. Like, they're doing great. Like 500, 300, 400, 400, like several amounts of Bitcoin are just sitting here on the for buy walls that are ready. So if anybody wants to dump coins, they can dump them into those buy walls and people will pick them up. So there is a demand. I like to see these things. Now, you're probably wondering, what are other technological experts thinking about this? Well, let's see what Zcash has to say. Now keep in mind, Zcash is the competition for other privacy coins, okay? Now, Zcash company CEO Zuko Wilcox has weighed in on the two recently launched MimbleWimble blockchain implementations, Grin and Beam, and considers them unequal to Zcash. Now, obviously he would, right? This just makes sense. It's competition. But there are several things that make this completely different. Okay, there's a major difference between these two projects completely. So, unlike Grin, which is unequivocally a privacy coin, its privacy functions cannot be turned off. Now, he makes a very good point here because Grin, you can't track that information. You like for instance, for things like Ethereum and other coins, right? You can track information in the data of a block. In your transaction, you can have messages or smart contracts or things like that. There are areas to insert metadata, right, in your block. Now, with Grin, you don't really have that. As far as I can tell, there is no functionality for that yet, but there may be in the future. Now, Grin just kind of started out January 15th, and there's tons of development to go through, and I will talk about that very shortly. But as it sits right now, if you wanted to write up a mortgage agreement or something like that, you couldn't track that information on the blockchain because there's nowhere to track it. Because everything in between the coins being generated and the coins being sent to an output are not there. Okay, so that's what makes the blockchain so small. So anyways, that feature can't be turned off, which is a very, very important point. So Wilcox said of Zcash that I don't see Zcash as a privacy coin. It's general purpose internet money. Beam perhaps errs towards Zcash here to be another form of internet money with a function to display proofs of transactions to accountants, auditors, and even tax authorities. Grin doesn't need to do that. It's meant for you to send money from one person to another person and just do it and keep your privacy intact. You don't have to show anybody anything at any time. You just do what you want to do. So that's freedom. You know, they're selling freedom right there, and I'm a fan of that. So now here's the thing. I also like this point as well. Zcash also employs a steep founder's reward. 20% of the block reward for each block mined is sent to the founders for Zcash. Now, that's the thing. And why would they do that? Well, they need funding to continue developing Zcash, right? Now, how does Grin survive with no founders reward and no pre-mine, no ICO? Well, let's get into it here. Grin head developer Ignotus Peverell expresses disappointment in funding from crypto industry. So, since it is an open community and they have developers from all around the world and there's no ICO and all of that funding, they take funding from the people that support the project, right? So it's community-driven funding, okay? And the head developer, Ignotus Peverell, was not happy when they had a campaign out and barely anybody donated. I recall in the Discord about 3% of the donations were covered about 2 days ago. Now, I do have some good news, but let's get into this first. Okay? Via an announcement released on the official Grin website, the project's lead developer said that the team was severely disappointed by the way in which the industry was shaping up around Grin. Grin was started with as fair of a launch as possible for what's under our control. We did this for good reason. We believe in Grin's mission. Peverell then went on to say that he was also quite disheartened by the way in which Michael Cordner's recent funding campaign to devote 100% of his time to Grin was still 90% off its final mark. At press time, his campaign was about 4,000 euros, and he needs 55,000 euros. So I am happy to say that his funding campaign blew up. Like, you can see it here. Funding status, March 2018 to August 2019. 65,000 euros were sent to him, and his cap was 55,000. So he is killing it. He has lots of funding, and he can 100% devote his time to developing. Now, he has this extensive developer background, and he says who he is, what he's done so far, what will he do, where does the funding go, right? And this is an amazing thing to see in a community-driven project. This blows me away, and this is kind of what brought me in. There was previous campaigns, funding campaigns. So from February 2018 to April 2018, the goal was met for 2.5 Bitcoin. They got 3.1, and this is from the community. So they do have some strong backers. Then there was another funding campaign, and they got 47,000 out of 36,000. And as soon as that notice went up, maybe a day later, you can see they raised a massive amount of money so Yeast Plume can continue developing. And so for 6 months of his time to 100% develop, it's basically closer to 98,000 Canadian dollars. So he's doing fantastic, and this means that we will see lots more progress on the Grin project, which as an investor is very awesome to see. Now, like, is he actually doing the work that he's being paid to do? Well, let's take a look. Look at all of these implemented enhancements he's doing, the fixed bugs. This is all from Yeast Plume. Closed issues. He solved all of these issues. He literally does this full time, and you can really see it here. Of course, there are other developers in the project that are doing lots of work as well, but this just goes to show that he is fully devoted and he's keeping his word. It's amazing. There's tons of development going on here, and this update just came out a day ago. So I love seeing these types of things. Now, there are some other key features that are really, really cool about Grin, I find. There are multiple ways to send coins. Now, you can send coins through HTTP via a wallet listener. You can send them through a text file. You can do a Grinbox relay address transfer, a key-based transfer. And there's several other wallets that are being developed right now. Now, as I understand, to date, there is no Windows wallet, but it is coming. Currently, there are some other transfer methods out there as well, like a JavaScript transfer implementation, a C++, a Swift, a Go implementation. So there's lots going on. And we should see Windows wallets in about the next week or 2 weeks. So that is something definitely to keep an eye out for. Now, how exactly does Grin work in regards to how many coins per year, how long the blockchain will go on for, etc., etc.? Well, there's only 31.5 million coins per year generated because there's 1 Grin per second, and there's 60 Grin in a block. So you can't mine a massive amount and speed up the chain progress like you can with, say, Ethereum or Bitcoin. you can't do that. You know when it's going to be, like, when the chain is going to reach its max, and that's 584 years from now. So there is a lot of development going on for this blockchain project, all right? There is tons of unique features that are being added here, and as far as a privacy coin, it is amazing. This is as private as it gets. So I don't know if the transfer feature really is that user-friendly right now. It's definitely different from Bitcoin, where, say, you have an address and you send Bitcoin from one address to another address. That seems simple. It makes sense, right? Well, if you grasp these features of Grin, then you're going to be well on your way, especially since this is an early project and an early implementation. So there's lots to come, lots of development happening. It's definitely something to keep an eye on, okay, guys? So if you appreciated this content, please let me know. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, and let me know what you guys think of this project in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and as always, stay regular.